So welcome to the Shredded Show, and we're going live on YouTube today for this as well. So if you're listening to this on the podcast version, head over to my YouTube channel and you can watch a video version of it. So today what we're going to talk about is cheat meals, refeed meals, cheat days, and the bullshit that is involved in that. Because this is probably the biggest mistake you are making right now if you're listening to this and you're not making progress. I'm going to pause for effect. Because the reality is, a cheat day in particular is the most stupid thing you can actually do. Now, that's just for several reasons. So if you think about this in terms of human psychology, if you think about the way we think, if you think having a day a week to have the foods you're not quote unquote supposed to have is a good idea, then the reality is that you're setting yourself up for failure already, because your thought process mentally is that certain foods are bad and you can't have certain foods that you want to be eating. Now, in reality, this isn't true. You can have any food you want, but you just need to have accountability for it, essentially. Like, you have to be able to factor that in. And you can't eat an entire cheesecake every day. That's not practical. And nor would anyone expect it to be, I would have thought. However, some people think that because it's a Saturday or it's the weekend, calories don't count. And this is how people get into that vicious spectrum of they starve themselves Monday to Friday, and then when it comes around to Saturday, Sunday, they go mental and they go off the rails. And this is why they never make any progress. They're the warrior Monday to Friday, living that Spartan lifestyle of training, nutrition. They're weighing everything to the gram, and then Saturday, Sunday comes, it's an absolute shit show. Now, one of the techniques we use with our clients is really trying to focus on them understanding and becoming aware of how they feel and how certain foods affect their body. Because once you suddenly start to realize that when you eat junk food and shit food and you eat way too much, you feel crap for 5 minutes of enjoyment. You might feel crap for 2 to 3 days. Is it worth it? So that question is the juice worth the squeeze? And that's really what you want to be thinking about in terms of when it comes to cheat meals. Now, what I'm going to do is give you some practical advice today in terms of how to factor in some of the foods that you enjoy the most. So firstly, we have to have a life, enjoy ourselves and be happy. And if you like eating ice cream and you like eating bread, or not that bread's a cheap food, but if you want to eat pizza or whatever, then that's cool and you can factor that in. So one of the things we use with our clients is what we call the one free meal strategy, where the free meal approach, where we have one meal at the weekends where you can have whatever you like. Now, this is very important for psychologically, because it allows you to suddenly understand that this is acceptable and this is part of your plan. This isn't a cheat because this is planned. So this is tactically very important. It's almost like an NLP technique, because it's you suddenly realizing like, oh, it's okay to eat these foods and I can still make progress. And it also means when you eat these foods that you don't suddenly go, you can have them, but you don't have to go overboard with them. Because this is the big thing. It's like you can have one piece of chocolate cake. You don't eat the entire cake. Now, that's how you can get away with it, is by being sensible. So some practical tips in terms of how to structure in a free meal or a cheat meal. What I would suggest you do is try and firstly make it a social occasion. So if you do it at the weekend, go out with your partner, your family, your kids, whatever, and then have fun with it. And that will make it more enjoyable to enjoy in the presence of others. And secondly, the big tip I'd recommend is have it as the last meal of the day. So, and this is where I look at it. If you wake up on Saturday morning and you go to town at breakfast and you have pancakes, maple syrup, you have a full English fry up. For those of you who are American, Google it. You find out what it is. It's not very healthy, and the reality is you're then not going to be able to eat. You're going to struggle to eat correctly the rest of the day because you've gone off the rails in the morning. Now, when you eat in the evening, if you have, say, a 3-course dinner with dessert, and you then go to bed, tomorrow's the next day, and you'll be refreshed, your mind will be cleared, and you won't have any of those issues or concerns in regards to sticking to your diet, because your body will have digested those foods, your blood sugars will have calmed down a bit since then, and you'll be good to go. So tip number 1 is use the free meal approach. Tip number 2 is to have your free meal or cheat meal at the end of the day. Now, tip number 3, so this is an interesting one. I think it's quite relevant, and I actually think is important, because it makes you quantify sometimes if you struggle to realize how much you're eating. and it's a bit of a different one. And for anyone who is doing a cheat day at the moment, I question you to do this. So on your quote-unquote cheat day where you eat whatever you want, take a photo of everything you eat. At the end of the day, look back through the photos of what you've eaten, and you'll suddenly realise how much shit you've potentially eaten or haven't eaten. And this is very, very important psychologically. I find this is a great way to track when on holiday, is just take photos of all my food, because it's easy to then be like, oh, I ate that, and I ate that as well, and I ate that. And when you visualise something, it's then easy to then account for it. Whereas in the reality, most people just pretend it doesn't happen and try and sweep it under the rug, which isn't necessarily the best approach. Now, the big thing with cheat days and cheat meals we have to think about is that we have to sort out the mental, psychological approach to this first, because the big thing is a lot of people have this debit and credit society with mental approach with food and exercise, thinking that you can out-train a bad diet. Now, you categorically cannot out-train a bad diet. I tried to do this for many years. Anyone who's seen my very bad transformation photo from before, that was my start point. Was I was going to like Mr. Wok in Marbella with my family and going to town. Like that isn't conducive to results. Now, we're talking about also setting ourselves up for success, or being sensible when we're having free meals or cheat days, or whatever you want to call it, but don't call it cheat day because that's retarded. What we want to think about is setting yourself up for success by putting yourself in the right environment. So don't go to eat as much as you like a buffet, because you're not going to undereat, you're going to overeat, and you're going to guarantee that you're going to do that by going to somewhere like that. So be very aware of the situations you put yourself in and the restaurants you go to, and don't go to somewhere which is like, can eat as much as you like, or somewhere you know you're going to end up overeating, because you're going to set yourself up for failure. So this would be the last thing I'd really want you to think about, is like, how can I set myself up to be successful in terms of enjoying my food and also making progress? And this is what we teach our clients at CJ Coaching, is how to factor in a free meal at the weekend so they can enjoy themselves, be happy, and have what they want. And it's almost like a treat for a reward of for a week of hard work and progress, and then also almost to fill the tank up for the next week in terms of crushing their training, progress, and also mental motivation. So these are some very simple tips that you can put into practice to optimize your cheat day. The last thing I want to leave you with in terms of why you don't want to be doing an all-day bender on a cheat day, I think about this from a basic form of view. Your immune system is 77% based within your digestive tract. Now, if you are going to go to the length of hammering your digestive system with ice cream, chocolate, cake, all sorts of processed crap, your inflammation is going to go through the roof for a start. Now, inflammation is actually the number one cause of disease. So people are worried about COVID, people are worried about inflammation. And number two, your digestion is going to be, quite frankly, a shit show, like literally. And that is going to have a very negative effect on your nervous system, how you feel in terms of physically, and also mentally in terms of brain fog. So when you have your next free meal, big suggestions, try and keep it to single ingredient item foods, healthy, good quality, not super processed, full of junk food and full of shit. And also in terms of protecting your digestion, try and go easy on liquid and fizzy drinks. This is Charlie Johnson. This is The Shredder Show. Hope this was helpful, insightful. As always, here to help you educate and dominate. Now, if you want help from myself or any other coaches at CJ Coaching, if you hit the link below this show, you can book in your free strategy call with myself and the CJ Coaching team to help you level up for the summer of 2021. If not, would love to help anyway. Just head over to my IG, YouTube. Just follow my content on there. I'm trying to put out as much as I can at the moment to really help educate you to become the greatest version of yourself. If this does help you, please make sure you leave us a review and you also share this with a friend.